what's up, guys? It's this V channel back once again, and today you are watching what is probably my biggest and most ambitious video project yet on my channel. And as you can see, the title is Did Cars 3 really happen in real life in the 2017 NASCAR season? This has been a video I have been in the process of making for about 2 months, and I really hope you guys can enjoy the ride along with me as we get to compare real life racing to a movie series that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen and somewhat like. Otherwise, I don't think you'd be watching this video. I hope you all enjoy. I put a lot of work into this one, so thank you for watching, and we'll go ahead and get on to the video. So first, let's start off by talking about when the 2017 NASCAR season started and when the production of Cars 3 first began. And let's clarify a few things about them both. So, in the previous year, the 2017 season, I'm just going to hit a few points, and very small points until I get to the big stuff. But basically, Jimmy Johnson won his seventh seventh NASCAR Cup Series championship in 2016, and he tied Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator, for the most championships in NASCAR history. So he's up there with the greatest of all time. And during this year, a new rookie class also hit the roster. So all three of these rookies that were in the class all had very notable moments. For example, Blaney's was just being able to be competitive in the equipment that he was in, even though it was way worse than what Chase Elliott had, who was another rookie in there. And then for Chase Elliott, it's just him near the winning at Michigan against Kyle Larson. And then he had a few extra moments as well, almost winning the All-Star Open. And then you got Chris Buescher, who won a rain-shortened/fog shortened race at Pocono Raceway. So basically, all three of these rookie drivers in the 2016 class, previously before coming to the Cup Series, were heavily accomplished in all two series below that, which is the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. In both Truck Series and Xfinity Series, Ryan Blaney, the first of these three drivers, had a lot of wins in both these series, 10 plus in both series combined. And he also ran part-time in the Wood Brothers car in 2015, just to get his feet wet in the Cup Series, get some more experience, knowing that he would be in a worse equipment than he would be in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series with Penske Racing and Brad Keselowski Racing. Even though at the time Wood Brothers was a Penske affiliate still, it was not as good as the actual Penske, and it was nowhere near as good as it is today. And the next driver would be Chase Elliott, where he won both the 2014 Xfinity Series championship and had numerous wins in both the Truck Series and Xfinity Series. He was becoming more and more popular with the fans as he was the son of NASCAR Cup Series champion Bill Elliott and 16-time NASCAR most popular driver in a row, and had tied with Dale Earnhardt Jr. So he was already pretty popular just because of his dad. Now, Chase would move to the Cup Series to race for Hendrick Motorsports, where he is now, and fill in for a recently retired Jeff Gordon in 2016 full-time. And then finally, we're going to go on to Chris Buescher. He was the third rookie, and he was in worse equipment, about the same equipment as Blaney was in, but the only reason why he had any notable moments was because he won a rain-shortened/fog shortened race at Pocono. Not to discredit it or anything, because, yeah, sure, he had some kind of strategy to stay out, I guess, and he won because of that. But sometimes, it's not really the driver who wins races. Sometimes it's the crew and the crew chief who makes the strategy calls and stuff like that. So, not to discredit him, but he did have a lot of accomplishments in the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. He had a championship in 2015, previous season to this season. He won the 2015 Xfinity Series championship, and he won a bunch of races in trucks as well with Brad Keselowski Racing. And he was pretty accomplished, but he wasn't in that great equipment and was never really expected to do good in the equipment that he was in. Here's just a little graphic about Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, Jimmy Johnson all have 7 titles, and there's Blaney and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next point, which would be that during this year there are also two other drivers other than Blaney, Elliott, and Buescher that were quite young that were still rocking the field in 2016. So Kyle Larson was in his third full-time year racing in the Cup Series after winning a decent amount of races in the lower series. And Kyle Larson was still relatively young for a driver, as he was still around 24, 23 during the time of his first win in 2016. So he was still very young, around the same age as these guys. And at this point, he had shown what he'd taken, that he has what it takes to win before in previous seasons, the Xfinity Series and Truck Series, and also run up a bunch of runner-up finishes in his rookie season, along with the pole. So, and a mediocre 2015 season. But 2016, he really started to come out as a true young gun. So, basically, in Kyle Larson's first win, he actually was able to beat Chase Elliott, the rookie of that year, in the Pure Michigan 400 in 2016, who and both of them had not won a race yet in the Cup Series. So basically, he won on the last lap restart, being pushed by Brad Keselowski on Penske Racing, and he ended up beating Chase Elliott to win and lock himself into the playoffs. Then the second driver I want to mention is Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman's story is very interesting. So let's start at the beginning of his career and where he is now in the early days of his career in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, Bowman in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series, he really didn't show much talent compared to the other drivers, at least, that I talked about. So Blaney, Elliott, Buescher, Larson, those guys all showed at least some talent by winning races and stuff like that in the lower series. Bowman never really did that, but he was still recognized a little bit for some kind of talent, or he was just put in as a filler driver. But he was tapped to race the BK Racing Toyota Dr. Pepper Camry in 2014, and that was his rookie year. So people, contrary to popular belief, his rookie year was not 2018. His rookie year was 2014. Although it was very forgettable because he didn't really do much in it. After that, he was kind of moved out of the car, and his career was in question because he didn't really do much in that car. So that is until Dale Jr. had a wreck in 2016, triggering a painful concussion at Michigan. And this concussion took him out for the rest of the season, sidelined him, whatever you want to call it. So basically, Hendrick Motorsports needed a relief driver, or should I say relief drivers, because Hendrick took Alex Bowman to tap half of the rest of the schedule for the 88 team, and Jeff Gordon to finish the rest of the schedule for 2016 in the 88 team's car, and split the schedule out between them evenly. So basically, in this period, neither driver was able to score a win or consistently run good, but both Bowman and Gordon had at least 2 top 10 runs, and both had one race where they had a chance to win and ran good all day long. For Gordon, this was at one of his best tracks, and not surprisingly, it was Martinsville, where he ran in the top 5 all day long and finished 6th in his last career start. For Bowman, it was seen as a surprising run, considering he had never led a lap in the Cup Series before, other than during green flag pit stops before, where he went on to dominate the second Phoenix race of the season, the race before the championship, but was not able to seal the deal after dropping back to 11th during a series of late race restarts, which plagued him and his team. Even after this, he was not able to find a ride in the 2017 season, although he ran the Clash for Dale Jr., because Dale Jr. decided to come back for the 2017 season. But then eventually he retired at the end of the 2017 season and gave the 88 to Alex Bowman in 2018 to present day. But enough of the 2016 season. Let's go ahead and move on to talking about the 2017 season. During this season, there were 8 young drivers that excelled this year, mimicking how the next generation racers in Cars 3 did. These drivers were Bubba Wallace Jr., Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, and Daniel Suarez. 4 of these drivers, ironically, were next generation racers in Cars 3. That being Bubba Wallace, who was Bubba Wheelhouse, Daniel Suarez, who was Daniel Swervez, Chase Racelot, who was Chase Elliott, and Ryan Inside Laney, who was Ryan Blaney. So all these guys were already young and basically next generation racers in the Cup Series, and they became the next generation racers in real life. So but before we dive in to what happened during the season, and the correlations that it had with Cars 3 itself, let's go ahead and look at the early beginnings of Cars 3 itself and the movie and what the story is all about. So basically, this is just a little fun fact. Michael Wallace is the actor who plays Sheriff, the police car in the Cars movies. He actually, in 2015, in an interview, stated that the original plot of Cars 3 was not even going to be including Lightning McQueen or any of the previous characters except for Mater. And at the time, it was really heavily not wanted because we'd already had enough Mater in Cars 2. And instead, the story would be about a Citroen who ventured to Route 99, meets Mater and the rest of the Radiator Springs gang on a road trip from Route 66 to Route 99. Eventually, it was changed to the plot we know and love today about McQueen winning races and championships left and right. And it is confirmed by Pixar that he has 7 championships like Jimmy Johnson. And so when and basically the rest of the story was when a new generation of high-tech racers show up and start forcing retirement onto all the veteran drivers and taking their place. Now, while it would be unreasonable for this to happen in real life, it's not unreasonable to say that it wouldn't happen on a lower scale. Because, sure, the drivers that were old, they were going to get replaced, but there's no way to say that every single one of the old veteran drivers are going to be replaced by young drivers, because there's simply not that much talent, and it's not that easy for each driver's other talent when other drivers are outperforming him or him or her on the racetrack. So, like what happened in Cars 3, what happened in 2017 NASCAR season happened on a lower scale. This brings us to what we are talking about today. So before we all get started, let's go ahead and discuss that this is based purely on the stats of the next generation racers or not next generation racers, the young racers in the 2017 NASCAR season. So in this Cars 3, there were 3 really good veterans before the next generation racers come in, who were McQueen, Cal Weathers, and Bobby Swift. Although we don't see Bobby Swift win, we do see him run second to third nearly every single race behind Lightning McQueen and Cal Weathers. So during the 2017 NASCAR season, the 3 drivers close to these racers would be Martin Truex Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Kyle Busch, as these were the best veterans in the series that year. In the case of this year, Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. combined would make up McQueen due to Jimmy Johnson not having such a great year after winning some races in the first half of the season and just having 7 championships like Lightning McQueen. And Martin Truex Jr. because while McQueen in the movie definitely did not win as much as Jackson Storm did, he was still seen running up, either runner-up to Jackson Storm or finishing at least in top 10 due to that montage where he kept on losing. So we know that all these guys make up Lightning McQueen because they just have a lot of the same stuff that he did when he was losing or whatever you want to call it. And Kyle Busch just because he was winning as well and he was a veteran. So and he can be called either Cal Weathers or Bobby Swift, but it's whatever you want to call him because he could be either one. By the way, it's not based on behavior, based purely on stats. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. For this season, we also need a Jackson Storm comparison. So the most successful young driver in real life during this season was Kyle Larson. Obviously, Kyle Larson was nowhere near the level of success that Jackson Storm had, but that would be unreasonable in real life. So Kyle Larson throughout the entire season had 4 wins, 8 runner-up finishes, 15 top 5s, 20 top 10s, and a whopping 1,352 laps led, and 3 poles. But as I mentioned before, Larson wasn't the only successful driver in the field that was young. Both Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney in their sophomore years made it to the playoffs, with both making it to the round of 8, with Chase Elliott nearly getting a shot to compete for the championship, had it not been for an altercation with fellow driver Denny Hamlin. Although Elliott never won a single race this year, while Blaney and a couple of other young drivers did, most notably Blaney. This is because but Elliott still won. Elliott still was very good compared to the other young racers. Not bad compared to them, but still had a very good chance at winning throughout the entire season. but the most notable win was Blaney's. This is because in the final 2 laps, without any radio communication to his spotter or crew chief, single-handedly held off 2 former veteran champions on NASCAR's only triangular-shaped track, this being Pocono Speedway. To get his first ever win in fairly underfunded equipment still at the time, although the Penske Alliance had become stronger, compared to the other 2 drivers, that being Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, that he held off. I highly recommend watching the end of that race, as I will link the video of it for you all to watch, as I can't include it in the video due to copyright issues. It is highly entertaining, as well as me also linking one of the other craziest wins during that season was Kyle Larson's win, where he won his 3rd straight Michigan win, completed the hat trick at Michigan International Speedway, where he also won earlier in the season, and his first ever win, which was last year in the fall race. These 2 were definitely the standout young racers during the season, that being Larson and Blaney, and basically were composing Jackson Storm in real life. And a variety of next generation racers that were also there during the Cars 3 movie that consistently were running close to Jackson Storm. There were also those in the midst of high success in their careers that either had issues or were not able to get the most out of their equipment. So some drivers were Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace was doing really good in the Xfinity Series and raced for a top-tier team, the same team that Chris Buescher won his Xfinity Series championship in 2015 with. But then he ran out of funding midway through the season and was not able to race in the Xfinity Series for the rest of the season. So he did, but he was lucky, or not, I shouldn't say lucky because that's kind of mean, but Eric Almirola got injured in the Kansas race in 2017, and Bubba Wallace got tapped to fill in for him. And he put up mediocre results, but he was running top 10 every week in the Xfinity Series before that, depriving him of a chance to compete for the championship because his whole team shut down and stuff. So, but yeah, he did put on mediocre results, but it was his first 3 starts in the Cup Series ever. A lot of people didn't expect him to do that good anyways. Next is Daniel Suarez, who won the 2016 Xfinity Series Championship and was the first Mexican driver of any nationality from any part of Mexico to win a race in the Cup Series, not in the Cup Series, in NASCAR, any of its series, or the first Mexican driver to win a championship. He also won a stage in the 2017 Cup Series race at Watkins Glen, beating out Martin Truex Jr., who was one of the most dominant racers during the 2017 season, if not the most dominant. And then there's Eric Jones, who did not win a race, but he had 5 top 5s, 14 top 10s, and a pole at Bristol, and nearly dominated the entire race and won it almost after starting first, but Kyle Busch ended up winning that race. We also have 2 first-time winners in Austin Dillon and 28-year-old Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Austin Dillon won the Crown Jewel race at Charlotte in the Coca-Cola 600, while Stenhouse won a race early in the season, holding off Kyle Busch Talladega and holding off 3 veterans in Michael McDowell, Clint Bowyer, and David Reagan, who are all superb restrictor plate racers, to win his second career Cup win in the Crown Jewel race at Daytona and the Coke Zero 400. And Stenhouse showed that he has what it takes to win, even though it was on a restrictor plate track. He was there the entire race, both races. I feel as though while looking at stats and determining if Cars 3 happened or not is a good reason, but we also need to look at how many veterans were either retiring or were out of their prime. These drivers were Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was retiring, Jimmy Johnson, although he made the playoffs and won 3 races. I'll talk more about him and why I put him in this list later. Ryan Newman, Danica Patrick, Matt Kenseth, and Casey Kane. Now, before I go on to why these other drivers were retiring out of their prime, let me talk about Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson is very similar to Lightning McQueen in the state that McQueen was in Cars 3. McQueen was at the top of his game before Jackson Storm came in. Similar to how all the young racers came in, and it kind of threw Jimmy Johnson off of his game. Jimmy Johnson, he was really good, but then later on during the season, towards the end, he didn't do that great. Similar to how when Jackson Storm and the next generation racers came in, McQueen was never really that good. after they came in and never really won any more races after that, just like Jimmy Johnson didn't. So Jimmy Johnson is basically Lightning McQueen in this situation. And Ryan Newman, he was old. He won a race that year in 2017, but I'm going to get into it in a little bit. Danica Patrick had stated she was retiring, and she never really was in her prime or out of it. Maybe you could say 2014 was her prime, but it is what it is. But she did have a couple top 10 runs during the 2017 season. Then there's Matt Kenseth, who was still at the top of his game, not as good as he usually was, not good as he used to be, but he was still there. He still won a race that season toward the end of the season. And he didn't completely retire, as he was still tapped to race in 2018 for Roush Fenway Racing part-time, and he was tapped to race the 42 in 2020 after Kyle Larson was suspended. So yeah. Then now let's go on and move on to Newman and Kasey Kahne. So even though Newman and Kahne both won one race that year, both were eliminated from the playoffs relatively early and only won the races due to pit strategy. Both nearly lost to a driver who was more competitive all race long. In Newman's case, he nearly lost to Larson at Phoenix, and in Kahne's case, he nearly lost to Keselowski had the race not ended early due to a late race wreck. While drivers like Kenseth and Patrick didn't necessarily retire for good, both did not run full-time in the Cup Series the next season. Patrick came back to do the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500 in IndyCar the next year, which she calls the Danica Double. And Kenseth ran part-time in the next season, as I said, in 2018, and came back in 2020 to run full-time. But aside from that, I've come to a conclusion that Cars 3 pretty much happened in 2017, but a lot of people really didn't notice it. With that being said, I can't really, say that it's exactly how Cars 3 went, because if that happened in real life, it would be a little bit unreasonable, because yes, the young drivers in NASCAR are great and they have talent, like Larson and Blaney and Elliott, but they just aren't as good as some of the veterans are yet. So I can't completely say that it's exactly like Cars 3 where the young racers just show up and dominate. That's not what happened, because still for Larson it took him 3 years. If you remember, back in 2014 was his first year. Elliott and Blaney maybe, because he really did come out of nowhere in 2017. He was super strong all year long, and he deserved it. He maybe was the closest thing to Jackson Storm, although he was not as dominant. He was the only really young driver to go out there and just start, being super up in everyone's faces, other than Larson. But then Larson had been racing for 2 more years before that. So, yeah. But basically, Cars 3, in my opinion, did happen in real life in the 2017 NASCAR season, along with a little bit of 2018 with the whole Alex Bowman going to the 88 and William Byron taking over the 24 as Chase Elliott moved to the 9. But that's not really a thing, because Chase Elliott was already there. They just really switched numbers, but that's not really important. What's important is Bubba Wallace got a ride, Alex Bowman got a ride, William Byron got a ride. So in terms of young gun movement, 2018 is kind of a part of that, but I didn't really put it in the video just because 2017 was more heavily focused on it. And I thought it was really cool that that Cars 3 was really accurate to what was happening in real life. And I appreciate the directors of Pixar, Disney, for actually taking their time and analyzing how NASCAR was at the time, and then proceeding to make a movie accurate to real life. I think that's great. I think it's great that they're doing a whole NASCAR series for Cars now, with the new diecast and stuff like that, which I have reviewed before. This video was a great video for me to make, because I've been thinking, why has no one ever talked about this before? Because it's so accurate to real life. But no one really ever did. So that's why I'm making the video here today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe, like, comment if you enjoyed, and please share it to all your friends. This has been a video I worked super hard on. One of my biggest projects ever. Took a lot of editing, took a lot of time, took a lot of work to think of what I was going to talk about, make points for myself, everything that went into this video. Took a long time, almost 2 months. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll see you guys later. Bye.